Hey everybody, welcome back to the Moniker Guitars podcast. This is the second edition of our marketing podcast where we help your band be better at marketing through your website, your social media, and your email address. Today we're going to be covering email and websites with our co-hosts Brandon Gredler and Philip Johnson. Sorry for the delay between part 1 and part 2 of these podcasts. We've been really busy getting our Rival Series guitars launched. If you haven't seen these, please take a second. Go over to monikerguitars.com. Check out these guitars. We're really, really proud of them. They're awesome sounding, awesome playing guitars. I think at a really great price. And we want you to please check them out. There's a video there where we explain the guitars in depth. You can see us playing them, all that good stuff. Please enjoy part 2 of our marketing podcast. As always, let us know if you have any questions. We're here to help you out. Thanks so much. You're listening to the song Drawing Blood by the Typical Johnsons. Thanks for those guys for lending the track for the podcast. Please go check them out at facebook.com/thetypicaljohnsons. Support for this podcast is provided by 512 Brewing Company, independently owned and distributed organic craft beer since 2008. Drop-in open house hours are Saturdays, noon to 4, right here in Austin, Texas, just up the street from Monica.
So let's wrap up social. We'll move on to websites. All right. So it goes without saying we need to get funnelcake.com, right?
Hopefully.
Yeah. We're not doing anything cute like funnelyourcake.com or funnelcake.net or anything like that, are we?
I don't think so.
I think we're just playing it straight so people can find us.
It's interesting because we say we don't think so in 2017, right? But as you look at like .band and .group, like what is like they're TLD top level domains. Mm-hmm. What is it going to be from now? I honestly don't know.
Are those? I know that like subdomains and top level domains and all those kinds of things. So whether it's like, band.funnelcake.com or funnelcake.band, are those things still happening? Because I know they were for a minute. Is it like, do you still see a lot of that?
That's what I'm saying. I don't know. Yeah. So
I feel like it's faded. I feel like everyone's back to .com.
I can't think of one example of one of those actually taking hold and working.
So we use a scheduling app called Calendly, and the website used to be calend.ly, and then they were like, that's just too hard for everyone. We're going to make it calendly.com. So we're getting a domain. We're building a site. How are we building the site? Because we're not hiring somebody. We're in a band. We don't have cash for that, nor does it really, in 2017, maybe make sense. How are we building this thing?
I mean, I think there's so many great tools just to spin up your own site in 10 minutes, and I don't think you need to get fancy with it. I think Squarespace offers awesome...
This podcast is brought to you by Squarespace. They sponsor every podcast.
Wouldn't that be nice?
But I think there's a couple of music-focused ones that I might not be aware of. I'm not sure if anyone's familiar with those.
Well, so there are definitely like those kind of in between the social website platforms like Bandcamp and things like that. But what we're talking about is a place where you can have your own domain name that's, funnelcake.com or whatever. And there's Wix, there's Squarespace, there's all these different kind of spin up your own quickly. But you were saying there's music specific ones?
No, I mean, I thought I heard a whisper of like a Squarespace for music. Or something like that, where they have some more like music-oriented functionality, but I wasn't sure about that, so you can just cut that out. There's probably plugins for.
Unsure. We'll find out.
We should leave it. First of all, but it goes into like the purpose of the website. So one thing that I'm not a fan of as a consumer, and that's where a little bit of psychology in the band goes in. It for sure doesn't rely on Kevin the drummer because he's. What was your band name again? Something terrible.
Come Over?
Yeah, Come Over. Yeah.
Great band name.
That's it. Okay.
TM.
The idea of aggregating all of your content, like these all-in-one sites that take all the experiences that I've just experienced and then regurgitate them in my face,
right?
As a user. And so what I was getting at is like that's where you have to take into intent of the user. So if we're following the funnel, even the upside down one, what I'm trying to do is get people from social and drive them to the website. So why would I re-show them social content, at least as a primary content? That's silly. In my mind. What you want them to do is do a few primary actions, which is take a look at my shop, find out where my shows are, watch some videos, and buy tickets, right? Like,
so let me back up for a second and challenge this whole notion of a website, because I agree with what you're saying, but at the same time, now Facebook has buy my products, and you can embed a player. Oh, I don't know if you can embed a player. They have their own embedded player.
Right.
You can do all these things, or you can do more and more of these things on social. And I would imagine that Facebook has an agenda of kind of squashing the need for a website. Just come to our site instead.
And so does Spotify, just for the record.
All of them, yeah.
Yep.
So why in this day and age even have a website? Because a lot of the bands that we see interacting with Moniker, you go to their website and it's just 5 links of the social profiles that they're on, and like maybe a blog, maybe.
Yep.
And maybe some merch, maybe, but like those are the guys that are, I think, doing well with it. What should be there? Why is it different than social?
In my mind, it gets down, and this is an industry term, if you will, but it gets into what's called content hierarchy. And so Facebook is incented to promote certain content higher. When they design things, they design things very, very much on purpose. It's not on accident. It doesn't always have to do with your objective at hand. And we talked a little bit about the TLD. I'd be surprised to see how many people book tickets, at least today, book tickets through Facebook.
Right.
Like how many
Pretty
people
low,
have actually
if at all.
put their payment, right? So you got to understand that. And also understand there's a difference between access and control. And whenever you are giving over design and all that stuff to somebody else, they are controlling it in a way that you can't, to better serve their shareholders, essentially, to put it in a sort of like a post-apocalyptic way.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah, I mean,
building a house on rented land instead of owning your own land, right?
That's exactly right.
Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest one for me, right? So you can own and you can control your own destiny on your website. You know, what if Facebook decides to shut down or change the way something works, and all of a sudden you could be SOL?
I mean, what if they
Or what if
decided
you're not
to
even
limit
on?
your posts to only 7% of your followers and not all of your followers? Then you'd feel really bad about spending a bunch of money and time and effort to acquire all these followers, which is something that, as we mentioned earlier, actually happened.
Yep.
So kind of controlling your own destiny.
Exactly. And I think, you know, you have to keep in mind that not everyone's going to have Facebook, or maybe not everyone's going to be signed up for Spotify. And so, but you know, there's a common ground in the internet. Usually, you know, if the people aren't on the internet, I think most people are. And then you can also control a lot of other stuff on your website. You can do, once you get a little bit more advanced, you can do more tracking. You can, you know, I think things that are great about like Squarespace and all these big platforms is there's an ecosystem where you can actually just plug in an email collection widget, or plug in an embedded player, like you were saying. And that's not something you're really able to do as well on some of these other platforms.
You brought up something really interesting, and that's actually the next topic in line, which is email. But if you step a little bit up from that, what you're actually owning is the data of the people who give a shit about you, right? And in any other scenario, you're sort of borrowing it, or you're peering into it, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, and it's on an aggregate level, but it's not like on a one-to-one. So when you get super nerdy and you start to get into customization, personalization, you can't do that with other people's platforms. And really it goes back to control. Can I control what it looks like? Can I control how it functions? And the answer is yes. And you can do it for almost no money.
Okay, so let's have some fun with this. We're gonna, the three of us right now, build Funnel Cake's website, okay? And we're gonna say use WordPress or Squarespace, or one of these kind of out-of-the-box solutions that has the ability to drag and drop these different widgets and different things. Let's make a quick list of all the things that we're gonna have on our website. So let me get started by saying we're gonna have a logo, right? We're gonna have some kind of branding, some kind of like presence, some theme, some color, something that's, again, tying into our social media so that the look and feel is kind of the same, right? Is that important?
I think the expectation is transferable. I think there needs to be a theme. should be thematic, but it doesn't need to be identical, if that makes sense.
Okay. I've seen articles about how, if you're on social media and you see a post and you click a link and you land on a page, that page should sort of have the look and feel of the post that you just clicked on, right? To let you know that you're on the same experience, that you're not at the wrong website by accident or something. Right?
100% agree.
Okay.
And that's what I meant a little bit about thematic. But back to the social cast that we're like this podcast portion is like you should take advantage of the features and functionality. Right. The one thing that you don't want to do, and you'll hear me say this over and over again, is you don't want to educate and sell at the same time. And the reality is what you're trying to do is you're trying to sell somebody right now. And what you don't want to do is have to re-educate them. Like, where am I? What band was this again? What did I just come from? And they wake up.
Funnel cake, damn it.
And they're acting brand new, and they just got out of a coma, and they're like, ugh. Like there needs to be that feeling that carries through. So whether it be a logo parody or a color palette or something like that.
Cool. All right, so we've got that. What else are we putting on this website?
I think we gotta put an easy to use kind of navigation. That's important. I think you need to put the most important content really high up on the page, which could be in this case, for a band it's probably I don't know, an embedded player, or probably not. It should be maybe the next tour, or maybe featured merch, or it depends what your goals are.
So we're going to do music, we're going to do tour dates, we're going to do merch. You mentioned a contact form earlier where you can collect information or questions from people as well as their email addresses, right? Maybe that's one form, maybe that's two different things. Sign up for our email list here, ask us questions over here. What else, Brandon?
So I was going to say a lot of that stuff's contextual. So when you get into website design at large, and especially when you're talking about using the tools that we are talking about using, super simple. They're not hard coded. Anybody in the band except for the drummer should be able to do it. and so back to the content hierarchy. If I'm not on tour, what do I want to do? I want to capture email. So I'm gonna borrow from people that do it the best. And what I'm not gonna look at is other band sites. So I have this whole theory about how consumer expectations are transferable. And so great experience is, if I'm trying to book something, is Kayak. What does Kayak do? They tell me that, right? So, okay, great. So if I'm trying to book something, do that. If I'm trying to capture an email address, put that in the primary header image. Don't have it a picture of your band looking all angsty on a train track. Nobody gives a shit. I want to know what you're up to later, so here's my email address. Conversely, if I just put out a single, so we did, what was the album?
Yeah, I think it was called Ubiquitous was the single.
Okay, yeah, we'll go with that. We'll do that. So I'm going to have the video of that be the primary, right? And then right below that, I'm going to put the email capture.
Right. I think it should be light and crunchy, just for the record.
Light and crunchy. All right.
And if I'm on tour, it's going to be some form of CTA to check out my schedule, and the ability to swap those at any point in time is really important. And then take into account how people. You brought up the navigation. There, God bless Austin, Texas, but there is a restaurant in town that has the single worst website I've ever seen in my entire life.
Care to name names?
Nope, because they make great food, but it's taken me almost 20 years
of food?
To get French.
All right.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
You said?
Yes, sir.
Very, very far east.
Yeah. And
delicious.
It's so good. But what they did is they extended my trip there. And the reality is you might not want me there. That's fine, whatever. But as a band, you should want people to get there. So don't be cute with it. You can be cute in your art and be very direct and poignant with how you name things and the design, and make it dead simple. Because again, people don't read and they don't want to think.
Just to emphasize your point about people not reading, this podcast is called the Moniker Guitars Podcast. Our company is called Moniker Guitars. We are regularly called Monkeyer, which they're reversing letters in their mind when they're reading it, but they're not reading it. That's the point. Nobody reads.
Nope.
I don't know. Moniker's kind of a weird word, fine, but I don't know what Monkeyer is. It's more monkey than
more monkey than
monkey.
The last monkey.
Yeah, I don't know, but somehow that comes out all the time, and it drives me nuts. But you're absolutely right. People aren't reading.
Yep. And so you got to use like really common nomenclature. If you're on tour, use the word tour.
Right.
Don't say where we're at now. Like some bullshit, because what you're doing is you're extending that gap of discovery. And so just being like really intentful with the design and the layout of how people interact with you, because the same way that you want people to feel when they hear your music is the same way that you want people to feel when they interact with your products that you put out, whether that be a t-shirt of great quality, a website of beautiful design, and so on and so forth. And I understand that that's not the craft and trade of what we're talking about, but it's important to your point about mind share. If I go to a website and have a terrible experience, it loads slow, I can't find shit, the dates are all wrong, that's the memory that's going to stick in my mind until you correct that memory.
Yeah. One thing we kind of breezed past on social media, but it's equally as important for websites, is keeping it current. When I go to a social media page or a website and I see dates from 1995, that's an exaggeration, but a couple years ago, months ago, whatever, it just makes me think that like, okay, these guys aren't serious. They're not doing anything. They may not even be a band anymore. But I'm definitely not taking them serious because they can't even update their own website. So make it easier for yourselves. Find a platform that's easy to use. Don't go hire someone to custom code a site. Don't try and build your own site. Like, use one of these tools. It's super easy. Keep it up to date, and then go spend time writing songs and recording music. Right?
Exactly right.
Yeah. Anything else we want to add to our site? Do we want to know a little bit about who we are or what inspires us, or a little bit behind the scenes or anything like that?
I think that's where the aggregation comes in.
Okay.
Because if you go back to the social concept, we've already posted that stuff. Unless you have like something really unique to say or just like really long format. But then you get into people don't read. You get, if you're going to create a video, it's about creating really long formats and then creating bite-sized things. So, and how you break that down into like popcorn-sized content that ladders up to a bigger piece. But again, you have to put on your hat as a user. Why am I at your website? I'm trying to do something.
Yeah.
I'm going to assume that you've told me the important stuff somewhere else. I'm trying to find out where you're at. I'm trying to sign up for updates, and maybe read a bio or two. Maybe. And
I would encourage people, though, to think outside the box a little bit and to try and think of something that is unique, right? In business, we talk about a unique value proposition. Like, what are you doing differently than your competitors? Why would somebody shop with you? Why would somebody interact with you? The best example I can think of, the one that comes to mind quickest, is when Fall Out Boy was first getting started as a band. LiveJournal was a site. Yeah. That might be the thing that comes after Zima, actually, was LiveJournal.
Oh, shit. Double down.
That was probably later on. But what's his name? Bass player. Pete Wentz used to journal.
Great jeans.
Constantly.
Though. Great jeans.
Hair, jeans, dreamy eyes. He had it all.
Avril Lavigne?
Dated her? No, Ashley Simpson?
Ashley Simpson.
Who dated Avril?
You don't want to know.
Do you know? Who was it?
No.
Oh, yeah.
She's Canadian. Was it the Nickelback dudes?
She's married to him.
Really?
Yes.
Chad Kroeger?
Yeah.
Yikes. All right.
Live journaling.
And he was like long format. Like, it didn't make any sense in today's way of thinking. Like, it's got to be short, it's got to be quick. But it was like emotion and passion, and it struck a chord with his audience, right? Who are young teens who are like coming of age, going through some stuff, and could relate to what he had to say. And it created this entire community and buzz around this band to like go and interact with them and know all about his personal life. I'm not saying do that exact thing, but I've always wanted to like see more of those types of things from bands that are showing a unique side. I mean, art should be unique and show us what you got. You know what I mean?
I do, and I don't think it's, to argue against myself and to agree with you, I think it goes back to the content hierarchy and understanding. So if you go to the funnel, right, the majority of the people are there for a purpose.
Sure, right.
There's a very like finite amount of people that give a shit about the art that you do. But when you convert those people into caring about the other shit that you're up to, those are the people that are worth the shit, because what they're going to do is they're going to run to the party and they're going to tell the 10 friends. That's where what's referred to as the K factor comes from. Somebody who did it really well as a prog rock band, Dredge. So leading up to one of their albums, they would release these really cryptic, 7-second videos, and you're just like, oh shit. And in a way, that was more eventful than the album itself. Right. But you were along for this ride. Somebody else in Circus Survive, I love those guys, man. Colin Francesceno, he's an artist, right? Yeah. So he paints on the side and all that shit. But it was through that I became interested. Yeah. But what did I have to do in order to become interested? I had to go to their shows. I had to watch their videos. You had the primary mission of why do I have a website? Right. And then everything else was like
All right, let's move on. Last and not least, we're talking about email. We've mentioned email a bunch throughout the conversation. And Phil, why don't you get us started? Why is email important? Why is it important to collect email addresses?
For sure. I think a lot of people don't really recognize email as for how powerful and useful tool it actually can be. I think it's a channel that's existed for a long time, and I don't think it's ever going to go away or going away anytime soon. You can reach people wherever they are. It doesn't require you to be, to have a Facebook account or a Spotify account. And I think you can also do a lot of really interesting stuff around segmentation and measurement. And I mean, best of all, it's really cheap and easy to do.
So an example of segmentation might be like geographic location, right? So I have these fans that are on the West Coast, and we're about to do a West Coast tour. So why email my fans on the East Coast about it? I'm going to send it to the guys on the West Coast first.
Yeah, and I don't think you need to get fancy when you're first starting out. I don't think you need to even worry about segmentation. I think the first battle is actually giving people a reason to give their email address to you, right? So why would I want to receive you in my inbox? And probably the number one reason is I should know, when you're going on tour and when you're going to be in my town, because if I gave you my email address, and I think going back to the website, you should tell people why they should give you your email address. Is it what kind of updates are you going to get? Well, I'll give you tour updates. I'm going to give you updates when new albums come out, when merch goes on sale, or you can get creative here and do something else silly, or maybe you have a personal series that's only through email that gives people a special reason to want to tune in.
What about incentives? So when you're trying to collect emails, it's great that I would know what Funnel Cake's going to send me about the band, but maybe that's not enough, because it might just sound like news and updates, and like that's what everyone else is saying. Like, what about something like unique, like a little teaser, like a little reward for, I'm going to give you something, give me something in return? Like, what are some ideas you might have around that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, the one of the best email marketing, when I was a long time ago, before I was even ever in this industry, there was a daily deal site. It's escaping my memory. It was all about outdoors. And this guy would post like a 250 word like life anecdote or funny story about something that happened to him every single day. And they were all great. And I would open and read the email just to get this little funny blurb. But then also he was advertising, the daily deal of the day right below. But I opened the emails because of that content and not because of what he was pushing. And I think you can find your own version and own way of doing that. Maybe for us, it's here's a picture of us with a funnel cake in front of something funny, or here's our funnel cake recipe of the day or funnel cake cocktail.
Dude, the recipe idea is great. Or even like, here's an acoustic version of our song or something. And what we're not suggesting is that you sit there and email respond to people all day. You can use tools to automate this process. So one that we kind of mentioned earlier, there's a company out of Austin called Sumo that has these really easy plugins to where people can leave their email address and then get immediately an email from you with a download or a link to download or something like that. So you can, for again, little money, automate these things to where people are incentivized to give up their email address, right?
Yeah, great point. I think if you have just a small little carrot that's automated, it could be, like a unique download acoustic, something that you're not offering anywhere else. I think that's a great idea.
And I think when we think about email in general, I think the incentive for the one-time thing is really interesting. Because what you don't want to do is bog down like or take away from making music, right? So give us your email, get that, and then we're done. But what it does is it gives us another channel. And so what I think about, when I think about bands and how am I gonna, what's our ultimate goal, right? Go on tour, sell tickets, get signed, maybe get a TV licensing, whatever it might be. The email is a portion of the total audience that I can address at any moment. So if I'm looking at you as an investment, which they do, how many people can you touch? Do I actually care about what channel it is? Probably, but really what I'm more concerned about is the universe. And so when you guys were talking, not to throw a curveball in, but SMS is so dead simple. Twilio is one of my favorite services in the world, right? And when you look at a synth pop band who's super fucking successful, like Funnel Cake, our audience is on their phones more than they're in their inboxes, right? And it's just another thing. So, I'm looking at my inbox right now. I have 6,947 messages across however many email addresses I have. I have no text messages.
Right. You've read them all.
I've read them all.
Not because you're not unpopular.
Nope.
Right.
In the second that one pops, hey, fuck you, man. In the second that one pops up, I'm gonna look at it, right? And it's a little bit more of an intimate relationship. That again, like to Phil's point about email, it's cheap, it's simple. You can slice it by geography. You can surprise and delight your customers by saying, "Hey, man, thank you so much for following Funnel Cake. Here's a quick little video of Kevin on a toy drum set." Covering like that. Check it out. So I think what we're getting at is like, from social all the way down to this SMS curveball that I threw in there is like the ecosystem of your audience and how can you touch them. And the tools are simple, they're cheap, and the knowledge of how to drive them is almost everywhere.
What do you guys like for email tools for your email provider or whatever?
I mean, I think you'd be amiss to not do MailChimp. I mean, that's just...
It's so easy to get started on, and it's very powerful.
It's super powerful. The lists are exportable as well. So depending on the data that you collect on people, and then how you can sort of customize their experience, and then the way that you can... This is getting a little advanced for the conversation, but customized forms and progressive forms and store IP addresses on your website and shit like that. It can handle all of that from an integration, but out of the box, man, good looking websites, simple automation, simple journeys, like time-based. Mm-hmm. So if somebody comes in, they say, "Hey, I love Funnel Cake," we instantly send them something back of an exclusive interview with Phil and say, "Hey, we love you too. Thanks for signing up." 7 days later, here, don't forget to check out the Funnel Cake 20% off the merch, right?
Yeah, so automation can be a really powerful tool. It's an example of that is what we just talked about with those, sign up for our email list, get an email with a download attached to it. That's automation. You're not having to do anything. You set it and forget it. And people will receive those emails, and there's all kinds of things that would trigger an automation, right? Like somebody lands on a certain web page, you might be able to trigger automations or things like that.
Oh, you just opened up a whole...
I know.
And I was gonna play devil's advocate with you and just make sure to remind the audience that this stuff is really not as hard as it sounds, right? And MailChimp makes it really easy, and you can go spend, tens of thousands of dollars a month on these incredibly complex tools that are just limitless in how you can segment and send emails to people that you don't have to think about. But I think, if you just get in there, and I think just think about creating 3 to 5 automated emails that work, and if you're doing that already, you're doing better than probably 95% of the bands out there.
So how often should a band email you? How and when?
In my opinion, with purpose. Don't bother me with bullshit. Come into my inbox when you have something to say. Geographically, it's when you're going to be on tour. From a merch, it's when it's on sale. From a content wise, it's when it's on purpose. So with purpose and with intent, and that's the only time when.
Cool.
Yeah, agree.
All right, guys, with that, I think we're going to wrap this up. Thank you so much for doing this. Where can people follow you online or check you out or check out your companies, or what do you want to plug? Let's get something out of this. Come on now.
You can check me out on everlywell.com. Links to my various profiles are on there, including if you need any at-home testing. If you're on the road and doing super successful, you're probably going to be needing some sexual health tests every quarter. We offer that there.
All right. You heard it here first.
Oh my goodness! I can't promise on testing your drippy dick or whatever you might have. I'm pretty quiet on socials. You can find me at Brandon Gredler at Twitter. I'm fairly quiet.
So if you need some peace and calm in your life,
just go to my page. Oh wow! But honestly, man, follow me there and hit me up with questions.
Cool.
I'm actually quite active in the background. I just don't publish a whole lot, so
sure.
I'll see it.
Awesome. Thank you guys very much. Appreciate it. Looking forward to Funnel Cake's World Tour, and for all you out there, funnelcake.com, .band, .net, .mx, coming to a place near you soon. Thanks.